There are so many preconceptions that people hold about solo travel, more so when you are a woman. I can't tell you how many times people ask me, but aren't you afraid? Or is it safe? But the reality is very different to what most people imagine. The truth is, traveling solo changes one's life, and traveling single is the greatest gift one can ever give to oneself. Like me, I am sure many women will find solo travel to be adventurous, empowering, enjoyable, and a wonderful experience. Shobha Mohan, an entrepreneur herself in hotel marketing, promoting conscious luxury travel, whose world flourishes around unique and extraordinary travel, and bring her rare insight on women solo travelers. So here is just a few reasons why all women should travel solo from Shobha.
There's several reasons why we would travel alone. For instance, I would travel alone because I just want to get away all on my own and break free of routine, be in a new place and do the same things I did back home. I would also want to go back to re-energize and come back to my routine, as a fresh person. One of the reasons I would also travel solo and go off on my own would be to find myself from time to time. Otherwise, in this world, especially for Indian women with family, children, work, friends, everything kind of bogs you down. And a little time out as solo travel, seeing new things and seeking new perspectives, I think really helps a lot.
So don't you think, they say when you travel with your family, there's a kind of bonding which is there. So don't you agree with that?
Yeah, there is family travel and I enjoy traveling with my family. There are also times when I like to travel alone, also because my interests are different. When you travel alone, you are at your own time, you're at your own pace, you eat what you want to do. You don't fall into a collective routine, and especially for a woman and as a mother, you generally go with what your children or what your family wants. It's rarely about you, especially my generation. So if the children want to eat Italian it is, right? But I probably would want to do something completely on my own, and that's one of the reasons I like to take time out, and I really enjoy traveling alone.
So where and how can women travel alone? And how do you feel that women should travel? If it's a destination, then what are those destinations where they feel safe?
In my opinion, and I have two girls, I think women can travel anywhere in the world on their own. And any which way they can take a bus. I've taken Greyhounds around the US, I've taken trains in UK. I think you can pretty much travel everywhere on your own. We have an instinct, all of us have an instinct. If we kind of follow our instincts and what is safe, what is not safe, there are a few ground rules. Even if you're in your own city, you follow some ground rules, right? So if you follow some ground rules, not talking to strangers, those kind of things, especially when you're young and traveling on your own, I think you can go anywhere you want to. I've been traveling on my own since I was 24 or 25, and I've been on trains, I've taken buses, I've gone on general compartment in trains. I've never had a problem. I don't talk to anybody. I don't give myself up for conversations. Even on flights, I get in, I get off the flight, and I'm out of the airport. I don't make conversations unless, of course, there is somebody or somebody really chats you up and you feel comfortable. I don't make conversations like that.
So you think that it should be a well-researched...
Yes, of course. Research is very important. You need to know exactly how far you're going, where you're going, what kind of locality or what kind of neighborhood you're going to be staying, especially these days with Airbnbs, booking yourself into Ubers and things like that. You have to be very careful about where you are placing yourself in, right? I see safety as a very personal space for me. For me, being safe is my responsibility. Right. And how I go about keeping myself safe is something I have to figure out. I need to define my parameters when I am traveling. And this is my advice to solo travelers. Don't do anything stupid. Very simply, you don't want to get lost in a place where you don't even know the language properly. Today, it's all the more easy to research and be well prepared before you go on a solo vacation, right? I remember, I think I was in Germany and I got off one station prior and I just couldn't get myself hurt. So a mobile phone, a smartphone really helped. I got off in a very small station and I just couldn't get myself around till I said, okay, God, here's a smartphone and, you have all your answers on your phone, right? And within minutes you are on the next train and you are off to wherever you are headed. For a second, I panicked. Then I calmed myself down. You have your mobile phone. It's working in an alien country. These days for solo travel, everything is so simple. Your internet can be connected connected anywhere you are,
Yeah,
right?
right.
So even before you go, you buy your data packs and you're there. So there's really no reason for you not to be well prepared on a solo trip. Imagine somebody who hasn't moved out of the house and suddenly she's put on a flight to the US.
Exactly.
When I went to the US first, I hadn't gone out of the country anywhere, not even to Nepal. My first trip was on a flight to Pittsburgh.
Okay.
And I got off the airplane and it was a new country for me and I was so excited. Of course, my friend's husband was there to pick me up, but it's just so exciting and when you're young. But today you have a lot of help and you don't need those kind of surprises anymore. So you could be challenged that way. But again, like I said, I have gotten off on a very, very rainy night. I've gotten off the car and walked into somebody's house and said, my car is punctured and my driver is unable to drive in this. Can I sit out the rain? I have done all kinds of things and I've, never really had a problem.
Okay, so how common is solo travel?
Actually, it's getting very popular. I won't say it's common, but it's getting very, very popular. Early on in my career, I used to see a lot of, Westerners coming in and I used to find it extremely fascinating. Young girls just with a backpack. And I remember there was a lady from Poland who used to come every year and she would book trains and everything. But yeah, she always had a pepper spray and a whistle. And I used to think, why would she do that? But, it's her safety. It's what makes her feel safe. I think she traveled for 6-7 years around me. She used to come and stay at home and everything. And I've never seen any untoward incident happen with her. Then I thought it was a good idea.
So are there certain behavioral traits you can downplay to avoid problems or confrontations?
I'm not very conservative where this is concerned, but you can be what you are. Like, for example, you go to Goa, for instance, right? You can let your hair down, you can party and everything. But if you're alone and you have no friends around you and you're with completely unknown people, you won't want to do stupid things. You don't want to get completely drunk and don't know what you're doing or who you are with. So there are safe places and there are unsafe places. There is safe behavior and there is unsafe behavior. And this is something you have to define for yourself. Well, you're traveling alone, you don't have your brother or your friend around you or your girlfriends around you to back you up. So you would be sane. You would drink less than what you would do. And if you thought you would get high or something like that, you wouldn't cross over to the other side, right?
Yeah. What are your packing essentials for a solo trip?
Travel light all the time. Right, it's very, very difficult, especially when you travel abroad. In India, you'll have porters and things like that. When you travel abroad, there's nothing. And to be lugging 2-3 suitcases on your own with a handbag is very difficult. So traveling light, especially when you're traveling abroad, or even when you're traveling India, I think is dead essential. Keeping light clothes, keeping a change of clothes always in your carry-on baggage is always a good idea. And again, if you are, like I told you about my friend Justina, if it makes you feel safe, I'd always have a pepper spray in my pocket.
Yeah, that's nice. So how can solo female travelers stay safe? Can you give us some tips?
Staying safe, darkness everywhere is scary, right?
Yeah.
In Tamil, they say the demons come out at night. So in everybody, the inside demons, they don't mean actual demons. So at night is when you should be very, very careful. Define your spaces, right?
Okay.
Whatever makes you feel. I think we are very intuitive. Human beings are very intuitive.
Especially women.
Women are very intuitive, right? The minute I start to feel like that, I move away from that place. If I'm standing in a tube station where I'm probably the only one and I don't see anybody far away, I just move away. Also, the other thing is not to carry a lot of jewelry and money with you. This kind of stuff today with credit cards with you. You can be very, very careful about how you're loaded when you're traveling. So those would be some of the things that I would manage. And not blending in when you're traveling and, tourists are picked up. The minute you see you look like a tourist and you are like sitting ducks. So the idea is not to stick out like a tourist, right?
So those are behavioral
trends. You'd like to be as cool and as casual as possible, be a part of the place. If I'm in France, instead of a jeans and t-shirt, if I'm going to be wearing a sari and walking around, I'm going to be standing out and again sitting ducks. And I heard of an incident on Champs-Élysées in Paris where,
Okay.
One young girl was targeted and people started moving around her, and her father suddenly turned around and he walked back to her, and she escaped unhurt, and also she made a lot of noise, right? So it's in your hands. I mean, your safety is your responsibility, like I said. And I think if we keep our ears and eyes open, if we let our intuition be alive and active, and in general be comfortable with your space, with your traveling space and how you're traveling, I think we should be perfectly safe as women, or men for that matter, wherever you're traveling.
Do you think India is solo travel friendly?
In most of the urban cities, this is not a problem. I've had some very special experiences when you slightly go off into remote areas. Yeah, so when you travel into Himachal or something like that, and you're in a homestay, or they get chatting with you. Villages are very safe, the people invite you out and everybody is sitting outside. These women are chatting. It happened in Kumaon when I was trekking in Kumaon. Women call you in, you sit and chat with the old men and women there. So these kind of things are very, very
bonding,
good.
No?
You bond, and it's also interesting conversations with people. They all speak Hindi. Then I remember, walking in one of the remote villages in Kumaon, and I suddenly met this bearded man with flowing hair, and he happened to be like a Guruji from the local area. And we just sat under a tree and we just talked. We talked for about 2-3 hours, and he was talking about how he was working in Bombay, decided to give everything up, and he came back here. So, these kind of, you have to also keep yourself open to experiences. Too tightly strung and scared of everything will mean that you're not enjoying the very purpose of solo travel is to engage in experience, right?
Any special experiences or any bad experiences which you would like to share?
No bad experiences as such at all.
Okay.
Special experiences are many. I remember as a very young girl, I was traveling back to my hometown in Vizag, and it was one of those days when a cyclone was on, and our train stopped, just like about 3 hours from where I have to alight from my hometown. And we were surrounded by water. And there was no electricity on the train because, the battery, the electricity in the train had given up. So we were all sitting in the dark. And, men, women, everybody started talking, and we started playing games and things like that. And after about 6 hours, we finally decided that we should go, and I wanted to go back home as soon as possible. So there was a group of boys, and they said, we are going if any of you girls want to go, and none of the girls were going, and I said, I'm game, let's go. So we walked through waters. I mean, we walked through the railway lines, which was like approximately knee deep in water because the trains couldn't move, and we finally, I think we walked for about 10 to 15 kilometers before we took a bus, and finally I reached home. Right, and I remember in a bus full of people, I was probably the only girl, and it is very safe. I didn't for a moment feel this thing. There were older women and things like that. I was sitting with everybody, and it just like the Bombay to Goa bus service kind of a thing. I reached home, and my parents were extremely worried because there was no sign of me. I was supposed to have been there 12 hours ago, and finally I reached home. So things like that. There's so many stories as you travel solo.
Thank you, Shobha, for giving us insight, and it was wonderful talking to you. So while safety should always be taken seriously, it's always good to follow some simple rules and guidelines to keep yourself out of trouble's way. So ladies, it's your time to tie your shoes and explore the country like never before.
Yes, intelligently.
Yeah, intelligently. Thank you.
Thank you.